Hey everybody, welcome to Dad Talk today. This is kind of a last minute episode. I'm here with Mr. David Henderson. David, how you doing?
I'm holding it together, man.
So David, tell us a little bit about what's going on, my man.
I'm a divorced dad of two, who's got a 14-year-old son that's been battling cancer for almost 4 years, a little about like 3.5 years at this point. There's been a couple of hearings in regards to his treatment. I, of course, didn't prevail in those hearings. And now we're at a place where not even her, but a mutual friend notified me last Monday that my child has entered hospice. And in the meantime, she has graciously granted me 3 30-minute time slots to spend with my son while he's going through hospice care.
3 30-minute time slots. And so this isn't nothing that the hospital's holding you back from. This is pretty much the court and your ex.
Yeah, so he's doing hospice at home, and by home I mean at her home.
Okay.
So the setting is he's in his bedroom receiving hospice care, and with that being the case, I don't have any rights to be at her house. So she controls the access.
Let me ask now, if this situation was on the other side, what would you be doing?
It without a doubt, the door would remain unlocked and she could walk in and out as she pleases.
So with these FaceTimes, I mean, what is that like? If your son being this sick, I can't imagine that there's much interaction that you can do with him over the FaceTimes.
So yeah, and to explain that is the court. I had an emergency hearing last week to get the child moved from her house either to my house or to a hospital, which is a neutral location where we both have access to the child. And Corbin, the judge said that his accommodation to the current situation is that she is ordered to give me video access to him 15 minutes twice a day. Now, the reality of the situation is when you have a child on narcotics, morphine, Oxycontin, they're in and out of consciousness and sleep, right? I mean, to be blunt, my child's slowly dying, right? And if anybody's seen it, they understand that people that are in hospice and dying aren't necessarily capable of FaceTiming. And if they do, it's rare. And when you do, it may be for 2 minutes before it's just no longer feasible. It'd be cruel to keep a child on holding a phone or having this conversation. The point isn't to be on a phone call with my child while he's dying over the next, they gave him 2 to 4 weeks. This was a week ago. So we're now looking at 1 to 3 weeks. And the point's to be next to your child. And the point is to lay in bed with your child. And the point is to hold your child's hand while he's going through this transition. It's not to have some social FaceTime phone call. I mean, that's not only like insulting, it's disgusting.
Absolutely, man. And I'm going to ask anybody that's watching this right now, make sure you start sharing this feed, because one thing I want to do when I get off this broadcast is I'm going to try to hit up the media. We definitely need to get some attention on this. And, not that this is solely the focus on the show, but I want people to know, we was talking about earlier before we got on here, Tarrant County, the Collin County, that whole surrounding area, what's going on in those family courts right now is just a disaster. This is one that just puts icing on the cake. And I know I saw a lot of the local guys that was getting this out. You guys need to let your local legislators know this is what fathers are going through. David, if you could give us a little backstory on how it even got to this point in the first place.
Like the brief overview of our case is we had initially, after filing, we had our temporary hearing, and she had lost primary custody during that hearing, and filed an appeal, and went to a separate judge. That judge overturned that ruling, and she became primary. After that, and we can certainly talk about it, there was some pretty dramatic things that happened with regards to his medical care, and she had, in my opinion, put him in, or removed him from what is regarded as the safest, most probable outcome of success treatment plan, and started him on a trial drug, and removed him from the other protocol, which led us to go back to court with an emergency hearing. And of course, she was allowed to do that at the court, but it wasn't after the child's oncologist testified very strongly against it, and very strongly for my ability to take care of the child.
Man. So what are we looking at right now, David? What is some of the ways that people here can help with this situation? I definitely think it needs to get some media attention to let people know what's going on. But have they been giving you periodic updates? What's going on with that right now?
Are you asking if my ex is giving me periodic updates? Or are you talking about as far as the legal team? Like,
I guess a little bit of all of them.
So the updates I get are typically, I mean, if anything, it's like, I ask if I can get my phone call, and she says, "We'll call him." And I'm like, "Well, he's not answering." But so I'm not really getting any updates. He is, like I said, getting plenty of visitors from what I understand. And he does need his rest, and I understand that too, right? But we now have, because it was an emergency hearing last week, it's set for Monday, in front of the same judge that allowed her to remove him from the treatment that was initially sought, and that also heard this last case, and awarded me 2 15-minute slots of FaceTime with my kid.
That is criminal, man. I just don't see how anybody that has a heart could sit back and watch something like this. I gotta
the fact of the matter is like, he might not be here before the hearing tomorrow. We don't know. Like, I don't know if this hearing is going to even need to be facilitated. I couldn't tell you. Like, and when he made that ruling, he knew that was a possibility as well.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, brother. I don't even know. Who is your judge?
So in Tarrant County, they have an elected judge who has an appointed associate judge, and any appeals go to the elected judge. So this is currently in front of Judge Kaser in the 322nd Court, who's the associate judge to James Munford, who's the elected judge in the 322nd Court.
Yeah, I had a question down here from a few of the people. They said, what was your custody situation? I believe you had 50-50.
Well, right? So it was a little convoluted. It's not exactly standard. It's not exactly 50-50. So the custody situation was very similar to the first, third, and fifth. And then the difference is on the first, third, and fifth, on the third, and I'm sorry, on the second and fourth, I didn't just have them on Thursday. I had them on Wednesday and Thursday. So it was, I don't know, I think it's considered like an extended modified standard. I don't know. But it equates to a significant amount of time. But not whenever she's taken my kid to New York City during Father's Day and my holidays, and every week that he's there is the week that I was supposed to have him.
I'm going to go through some of these pictures, David, and let you kind of tell us what was going on. I know you said there was a wreck, correct?
Yeah. So that was, you were asking, you ended up with a picture. That was me. So back in like early on in his life, I was actually a cop and a firefighter and medic. That was a wreck that I got involved in that ended that career. I'm currently in sales. I'm not in that arena anymore.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So I guess this is a picture of your son here, correct?
Yeah, that's us at when she pulled him out of Cook Children's. We ended up at Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York City, and then we would have clinic at Dallas Children's. So that's us at clinic at Dallas Children's Hospital.
I'm guessing this is your son going through chemo.
Yeah, that wasn't the first round, but yeah, that was later on after some more chemo. After that really horrid first series of chemo.
Is this the same round?
Yeah,
right
that's him with his cat.
Okay.
That was probably, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, a year ago.
Gotcha. And this is you and your son here.
That's him at the end of his radiation treatments. He had, I can't even count, and I had to go back and look, more than 20 different radiation treatments. But that's when things were looking hopeful that this was like being successful, but it wasn't.
And I know you said he was getting some stem cell treatments. Can you explain to everybody what's going on here?
Yeah, man. So this is so here's what happened with Cooks is she didn't. We initially went to Cook Children's for neuroblastoma, is the type of cancer he has, and they have a whole team that specializes in neuroblastoma. I mean, people come from all over the world to go to Cook Children's to have neuroblastoma just because they're so good. We just happen. I'm fortunate. It's like 15 minutes from our house, right?
Yeah.
So she one of the things one of the cardinal sins of chemotherapy is like you don't ignore a fever, right? So anything over 101, it's a trip straight to the emergency room. They have a whole protocol where they get these kids in, they get their blood, they start doing cultures because what they don't want is to get a line infection and staph, which could sepsis, which could it very easily kill somebody, right? So on 3 occasions while with her, he ended up in the ER for that. And I apologize, I've got a cold here.
Yeah, it's okay.
But the last time it had come to light that she had waited potentially up to 12 hours after he had notified her of feeling ill to get her there. And you do not give them Tylenol. You don't want to reduce the fever because the staff needs to gauge the fever to see like how potential it is that this has progressed into an actual infection. So on this last occasion, I got notified that he was there. I get there and he was in such bad shape. He didn't even recognize me. Like he had no idea where he's at. And we ended up in the ICU for roughly 14 days. And they were really surprised that he made it through that. And he did have an infection and he was suffering from sepsis. And so that was kind of the beginning of some problems that she was having, in my opinion, with the staff at Cook Children's, because they were kind of starting to call her on it, right? And this is after we'd had a social worker have to get involved multiple times about me being able to see the child or be with the child, right? And she despised the fact that they allowed me 50% time while in the hospital with the kid, because like we'd be in there for a week, sometimes a week and a half or 2 during these rounds of chemo, which is 24 hours a day, right? Just pumping this chemo. And then you go home for a couple of weeks, a month, come back every week for clinic, and then you come back for the next round. And then it's kind of a cycle like that. And it just depended on where his blood levels were at when he got to get released. But, you could expect to be there for at least a week while getting this chemo. So she began to get very upset. Well, the standard protocol for neuroblastoma is that you do these 7-8 rounds of chemotherapy, very intense chemotherapy. And it's extremely damaging to your organs. Since, the child will never procreate after having this. There's hearing loss involved. There's damage to multiple organs in their body. And so they do that to kind of loosen up, break up, weaken the cancer cells that are in your body. And then the second part of it is radiation treatment. And then the third part is they collect your healthy stem cells. And that's what's going on in that photo is they actually put in his carotid artery a needle and extract the blood and centrifuge out the stem cells and then put everything back in except for the stem cells. And then they store those stem cells for this last and final purpose. And what they do in stem cell transplant, it's a little bit of a, like, I didn't understand it before I had to understand it, is that they put you in this isolated, very controlled access. The protocol for sanitation is outrageous, wing of the hospital. And they just bombard your body with this chemotherapy, and it completely wipes out your blood counts. It takes and kills everything, and hopefully the cancer as well. And in order to get your blood back to healthy, right, they take those stem cells that are your own, so there's no chance of rejection. They put them back in your body, and then your blood cells start rejuvenating as brand new blood cells. And that was the intended purpose. Well, on our last round of chemotherapy, like as we're getting there, and they collected these stem cells, we're getting close. And Cook Children's is hands down the most amazing place I've ever been in my entire life. I can't speak highly enough about this place. And one of the things they offer these kids in treatment there is they have a yoga therapist. So the yoga therapist teaches them everything, like how, like if they're dealing with pain or anxiety, like breathing techniques, things that they can self-cope with, right, while they're going through stuff. And then they'll come in and they'll do stretching exercises with them. And, and we got to be pretty close. We were there for, months on end with the yoga therapist. And one day I came in and I was spending my 24 hours with him, and then she'd come in for 24 hours. But she came in and she said, "I'm really sorry that we're not going to see you guys anymore." I said, yeah, absolutely are. She's like, "No, your wife told me that you guys are going to a different program." I'm like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." So I immediately contacted the oncologist and said, like, what's going on? She had no idea either. So without discussing with me, without discussing with the oncologist, she decided to take my child out of the standard protocol treatment for neuroblastoma and enter him into a trial at Sloan Kettering in New York City with immunotherapy. So that created a second, or in this instance, another appearance in court to try to stop that trial treatment and going through this. Because the problem is once you exit this program, you don't have a chance to go back. So it's not because they like mad at you. It's because the amount of damage that chemotherapy does to a child's body when they're going through, it's just unbelievably just damaging. It just destroys you, right? You can't survive going through it twice. So if you don't have these things done in a series of events in time, it's ineffective. So the conundrum is, like, if we didn't do this now, we can never come back to it. We're closing doors in front of us. And, the oncologist, Dr. Granger there, just unbelievably great woman, came and testified in court and said, "Hey, not only is David a great caretaker, like there's no problems there, this is extremely dangerous, right? Like this is something that can be done if stem cell transplant does not." And said that they have a room still available for him and that she's able to treat him. And she looked forward to it, and she thought that his chances of survival were really good with that treatment. And my wife's argument was her own. She had no doctors testify on her behalf. None. Not even from Memorial Sloan Kettering. Nobody. She seemed to think that what she was doing was that she was smarter than an oncologist that was treating her kid, and they allowed her to do it.
What has this been like for you, David, sitting back, seeing all of this go on with your son and having to watch him with the treatment and everything that's been going on?
You know, I think I think that that the only thing I can say is like you generate strength, right? Like you have to be strong for him, so you don't have a choice, right?
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can do. So there's been incredible amounts of emotional suffering. Like it's unbelievable to watch your kid go through this, right? You try to keep it at bay and you try to push it aside, and you keep trying to do the next right thing. But it hurts, man. It really starts taking a real toll on like your soul. Like it cuts you right to a place you didn't even know was so deep.
Understand, man. Here's a gentleman. This is actually where I heard about your story, and forgive me if I know we touched on this a little bit. But Mr. Chris Putnam, he said the judge told David it's her vacation time, so he didn't have any right to visit the child.
That was one of the statements made during this emergency hearing. He said, "Well, like it's her vacation time. What do you want me to do? There's nothing I can do." I'm like, yeah, there is. I mean, I don't know if he realizes this, but nobody's on vacation, and I don't believe that I'm going to be taking one with my son this year either.
And this was the judge that said that.
Correct. He also, I interjected and told him that, like the current orders allow me to be present during treatment, whether it's my time of possession or not, right? And the hospice is treatment, and I should have a right to be there. It doesn't stipulate that if it's at a hospital, and I think that that's actually the right thing in the first place. But I'm not sure that he really appreciated that. I was sitting down shortly after.
Shouldn't be about what he appreciates right now. I mean, this is the reason why judicial immunity really gets under my skin.
It's certainly a problem.
Oh, it definitely is. And man, I can't apologize to you enough. I told you when you came on, I don't want to keep you too long because I know you got a lot going on.
Well, I got to tell you, it's not. I'm not in a hurry to go see my son right now. I'd love to be, but I'm not.
If there was anything that you would like people to know about this, man, I'm just opening up the platform.
Like this, at the end of the day, right? Like nothing's going to change my situation. The end result, right? I have every right, in my opinion, obligation to be with my son right now, as does his mother, as do his grandparents and anybody that he loves and everybody who loves him. And the denial of that to anybody involved is not just a disgusting disservice to everybody involved, but it's most importantly a disgusting disservice to our son. And Corbin deserves way more than this, way more.
Then let me ask you if there was a way, because we know the situation is a very important one right now. If there was a way to kind of just put this to the side and say, hey, let's get along, let's come in there. Is this something that you could do peacefully?
Me? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't foresee that being on the other side. And that's been a plea of mine since we found out that Corbin was diagnosed with cancer. That I sent her a very, very vulnerable, open-hearted letter saying that we need to put differences aside and focus on him. And there was never a response. And the only response I've gotten since then was her trying to leverage him against me during this process.
AC on YouTube said, had the window passed where the treatment he was on for him to continue with the treatment?
So at the time of the hearing, the window had not passed. So if the court had ruled that we continue with the standard treatment, the oncologist testified that they had a bed. It was within the time parameters, and that we were good to go. And she also said that you can always do these trials afterwards. There's no reason to not if it doesn't work. But I think this is going to work, and you're never going to be able to come back to it if you don't take it now.
Several people are asking what city this was in. I know it was in Tarrant County.
So I'm in Colleyville, Texas. She's in Bedford, Texas, but the court is in Tarrant County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Several people asking what they can do if there is an action plan. I mean, what do you do in a situation like this? Have you thought about that, David?
Again, like I said, the end result within a month is going to be the same, right? The hopes are in that time frame, whatever it is, that I have the opportunity to spend as much time as possible beside my son. So the first thing I'd ask for is prayers. Like, I believe in the power of prayer, and I'll take every one of them I can get. Aside from that, I don't know what else to do. I can't force a court to be rational, and I can't force a court to be reasonable, and I can't force a court to have a heart. They have never, in my instance, ruled in that favor or in that way. So I really don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I certainly will take prayers.
We have an amazing team of advocates. Texas probably has the most amazing team I've seen of guys that are out there trying to change the legislation. We was down there in Austin last year trying to get something going, and I know I have a lot of those legislators that watch this show. They know us. They've been on here. If there was anything that you could say to the lawmakers right now about these situations and what it feels like being a dad, trying to fight this system, this situation even goes further than that. What is something you could say to them, Dave?
Well, like if we operate in a world of laws that are based on a society that was prevalent in 1950, it makes sense. The problem is, if you look around in America, there's dads with babies strapped to their chest, and they're dads like me that were coaching soccer and football and Cub Scouts and volunteering to be a crossing guard at the kids' school and founding their dad's club there. And this is no longer 1950. And the problem that we have is that there's a monetary value attached to people's custodial rights. And I think that you find that a lot of people that really don't care about what's best for their kids do care about the money that they can make from it. And it's completely unreasonable. It's completely in opposition of what's best for kids and families, and allowing a system that's supposed to provide justice, that doesn't even have to follow the Constitution, by the way, to punish and impugn people that want to be nothing more than a parent, is so far from a good idea. And you wonder why you have these kids that do stupid stuff, right? And by stupid stuff, I don't mean like smoking in the bathroom. I mean, like you have these kids that go in and shoot up schools and things like this, and you realize that they don't have fathers in their life, right? Like, I don't know that you probably know the statistic, but it's north of, I believe, 90% of all prison inmates came from a fatherless home.
Oh yeah, that's up there.
And you ask yourself what's wrong with society, and I can tell you clearly, this is an ingredient with what is wrong with society. And legislators really need to step up their game, and they need to stop this crap of allowing this stuff. Nobody should have the power to do what they're doing to me. And I would venture to say I'm not the only person that things of this nature have to happen to. And I know it. I actually know it for a fact. And it needs to stop. And it needs to stop sooner rather than later. And I will guarantee you that I will be part of the testimony down in Austin when the legislature's there.
Absolutely. We got to make sure that happens. I know we might have touched on this a little bit earlier. I know we talked about it before you came on. She is a therapist of some sort, right?
She's a child and family therapist. The mother is, yeah.
And so we know the other case is going on down there in Texas where the ex is that way, and they're trying to transition him. Was a 7-year-old boy. He's 9 now.
That's right. Yeah, that seems to be a common factor between these two. I don't know if that's scientific sampling, but it's certainly of interest.
The legislation is failing there, and they know that's going on. They know that's going on.
Has failed since the inception of these laws. Like this is, if anybody doesn't understand how horrible family court is, just pretend that you're in, North Korea and you have about as many rights there.
Oh yeah, that's definitely true. I want to give you, the opportunity to, I asked about the legislation. If there was anything that you could say to the judge or to this courthouse where these orders are going through right now.
I would just, for possibly once in his lifetime, to put himself in somebody's shoes. Like, I can't fathom how anybody wouldn't allow a father whose child's in hospice and has potentially a week to 3 to live would not figure out a way to facilitate time with that kid. Like it's so obvious, I believe, to everybody involved, except for the people that make the choices. And I will just leave it at that. If people are saying prayers, I certainly hope that that's the prayer that they're saying.
I'd ask you the same thing about your ex. What?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody in this, listen, and she's hurting too. Like, I get it. Like, she is the mother of this child too, and nobody. I don't wish this pain upon her. Like, I just couldn't. Like, I don't understand how anybody could. But at the same time, as a human, it shouldn't have to go to a court. Like, this should just be an open door policy where, there's just free access to the child right now. And he needs to see both of us, and he needs to be loved by both of us. And again, he needs to be loved by his friends, and he needs to be loved by everybody who loves him. There's a lot of people that really love this kid, and he deserves every single one of us right now.
Absolutely. I'm with you. Man, I appreciate you coming on here. We're going to stay on top of this story, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you some more. I'm about to get off of here and see what noise we can make with this. And guys, if you're a member of the Dad Talk Today support group, I'm going to try to do it so it stays off of, the public page. But if you are on there, I'm going to post a link here shortly so we can get in there and find out a way that you guys can help. And David, if there is anything we can do, man, we're here for you. You got people asking if you want them down at the courthouse, or, there's lots of comments down here if you want to read.
It was requested that it be via Zoom. So
okay.
And I that being said, that won't be a possibility. The prayers, man, just prayers, tons and tons of prayers. I hope that tomorrow we get to talk, and I tell you that I'm sitting next to my kid. Right. That's my hopes.
Absolutely.
And in the meantime, they have awoken a great warrior, and they will know.
Absolutely, man. Anything else, brother? I mean, this was something we kind of did last minute, but I just wanted to open it up for you, man. Anything you want to say?
No, I really appreciate your time, man. Like, these things can't be overlooked anymore. They just can't. They just can't, man.
No, they can't.
Something's got to change.
Guys, join me over in the support group. I'll have that ready to go here in just a minute. And David, we're here for you, man.
Thank you, buddy.